This is a Miles Morales helmet made entirely by hand using EVA foam, plastic mesh, tape, and some paint. And I'm gonna show you how to make it. Hello everyone, and welcome back to PropWay. If you've been following PropWay for a while, you know that I've built a few different Spider-Man props on this channel. And today, we are continuing that saga with possibly my best Spidey build yet, a Miles Morales mask. Or technically helmet. No 3D printing, no sewing, no sculpting, just some foam and glue. Now this is inspired by the Spider-Man 2 version of Miles on the PS5, which frankly I haven't even played yet because I don't have a PS5. But that's alright, I'm just happy making these things for you guys, so let's get started. As with all my foam builds, we're gonna start by printing out my template for this helmet. My template for this build is in the description below and it is free, so make sure to download that if you're building along with me. I use US letter size paper, and printing the template at full size should be good for a 23-inch head. Any bigger or smaller, you'll likely want to scale the template accordingly. Now you'll notice the template will have numbers on it, and that's just the order in which I glue the pieces together. And we can now cut out all of the pieces of the template. Once it's all cut out, we're going to lay out a sheet of black EVA foam. Make sure to use black foam for the best results. I'm using 5mm thick foam here. And all we're going to do now is trace out all of the template pieces using a silver Sharpie. This template is for one half of the helmet, so you'll need to mirror it to complete the other side. Now that it's all traced out, we can start cutting out all the pieces using our handy dandy X-Acto knife. A not so fun fact, I lost my original X-Acto knife that I've been using for probably 8 years, so I had to buy a new one. Now before we start gluing all of the pieces together, we're going to take a heat gun and lightly heat up all of the pieces to seal the foam. You can see the foam starts to change texture and color slightly. Once the piece is warmed up, we're going to start shaping it and rounding the pieces to give it a more natural domed shape. This is super important as it will make your helmet have really smooth, rounded transitions. That's why I prefer foam, and that's why cardboard is generally more challenging to get that natural head shape look. So we have one half of the mask cut out and rounded. Now it's time for glue. As always, I use this contact cement from Weldwood for all of my foam props, and it works wonders. It does have a strong odor, so make sure to work in a well-ventilated area and wear a mask. All you need to do is brush it onto the edges that you plan to glue together, and then let it sit for about a minute or so. After a minute, the glue will become tacky, and that is the time to combine the pieces together. Using that technique, we can continue building the rest of the helmet. And here we are, we've completed the hardest part of the build. We now have a really nice base to start adding our eyes and all the details. I sketched out the shape of the eye frames so that I could get a general idea of how big they should be. Now we can cut out the pieces to build the frames, which I use 2mm thick foam for. As usual, we'll glue these pieces together using some contact cement, and as you can see, it fits beautifully on the mask. On the real Miles Morales mask, you'll notice that underneath the frames are shutters that kind of open and close. We're going to add shutters to our lens, but they're going to be stationary, they're not going to be opening and closing. At least not for this version, maybe the next one. So we just glue in a few more strips underneath the main frame to get that layered effect. And here's what your lenses should look like at this point. And now it's time for paint. To cover up all of those Sharpie marks and glue stains on the foam, I just brush on some acrylic paint with a foam brush. I'm using a mixture of black and gunmetal gray. I would highly recommend not brushing on a gloss acrylic paint. The gloss paints tend to be a bit thicker and will leave lots of streaks from the brush. How do I know that, you ask? Because I tried using a red gloss acrylic paint on the lenses and it just came out horribly. So to fix that, I just took some gloss red spray paint and put on about 3 layers. And as you can see, it came out beautifully. Now that the frames are done, we can add in the white mesh to finish off the iconic look of the Spider-Man eyes. Here, I'm using a see-through plastic mesh. I just trace out the shape that we need and then cut it out. Now, one small detail you'll notice with Miles' eyes is that it seems to have a gloss layer on top of it. So to mimic that, I cut out a piece of this clear scrap plastic that I had laying around, and then glue it on to the top of the white mesh. I used contact cement along the edges of the white mesh to glue the plastic on. You want to make sure to only glue the edges so that any glue stains can be hidden behind the frames. I just hot glue those lenses in and our frames are now complete. And now comes the part that is optional, but I think it's what really makes this mask stand out. Scoring all of those detailed lines across the entire mask. If you notice close-ups from the video game, the fabric on his mask is not just a smooth texture. There's a texture to it that's basically just a bunch of lines scored into the fabric. So to mimic that, I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and start cutting in lines. Now I think I could have probably taken a bit more time and make the lines closer to each other. As you can see, the gaps in mine are a bit more spaced out than the one from the game, but even so, it just adds so much to the overall look of the mask, and I think it looks great. As you can see, the lines go in two directions. You have the first set of lines that go horizontal, and then the next set is sort of at a 45-degree angle. Once you're done cutting those in, your mask should look like this. And now we can glue on our eyes. I know a lot of people like to use magnets for the eyes, like the 3D printed version that I made. But because this mask just slides off my head very easily, it really wasn't worth putting magnets in for. I traced out where the eyes go onto the mask and then applied contact cement on both the mask and the eyes. Now we can join the two. So one big problem I had here was that the plastic mesh stuck out way too much on the back of the frame. This made it really difficult to connect the foam frame to the mask. And as you can see, it started to resist a little bit and started peeling off of the mask. So looking back on it, I think making the outline of the plastic mesh a little smaller would have kept it further away from the edges of the frame and would have made the frame easier to glue on. Either way, it's not terrible and it still worked out pretty well. Honestly, I was tempted to keep the mask like this because even without the red webbing, it looks amazing. Now to put on the red webbing, I'm just using this graphic tape, which I found on Amazon and I believe is used for car detailing. The tape is an 1/8 inch wide and it's absolutely perfect for this purpose. I'll be putting an Amazon link in the description so you guys can purchase it yourself. So all we do is cut out strips of this tape and apply it onto the mask. To be a bit more accurate to the game, you want to make sure you do the vertical webbing on top of the horizontal webbing. As you can see, it looks like the vertical webbing is layered on top, so we just want to mimic that effect. And we're done. That is how you make a Miles Morales helmet. Thank you guys so much for watching today's build. I truly hope you all learned something and I hope you try out this build for yourself. Again, the template for this helmet is in the description below and it's completely free, so make sure to check that out. If you use it and want to show your work on social media, please feel free to tag me. I would love to show your work. As always, feel free to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content just like this. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.